Welcome to season 2 of Talkin' Funny Cars with your host, Buddy Hull. And you know, I'm a little out of sort. I'm sitting in this opposite seat, and I'm not sure why, but I'm about to find out. I'm going to turn it over to Elon Werner, the executive producer of Talkin' Funny Cars, because I think maybe he's got some questions for me.
Buddy, thanks. This is kind of a unique deal. Usually you're in the host seat. We had season 1 last year, and it's just really cool. When we came up with the idea to do Talkin' Funny Cars, we really didn't know what we were doing. But we won a Telly Award. We got to talk to a lot of funny car drivers, and over the off season, we just thought we really need to do a show with you. So I'm just going to come right off the top rope with when you were sweeping floors in Tim Wilkerson's shop as a little bitty kid. Did you ever think you would become a nitro funny car driver? Well,
I always wanted to, you know, and for me, my childhood was unique in a lot of ways, you know. The opportunities that I had, one could say they were limited, but on the other side of it, what they did is they created a path for me, along with ingraining a work ethic in me that I want to believe in my world is second to none. So, you know, when I decided to drive race cars, you know, roughly 20 years ago now, that was the end goal. You know, I bought a car at that time that I could afford. It was the least expensive, quickest, fastest car that I could possibly afford and drive at that time. And you know, it was a double B fuel altered. And I mean, you know, we go back, and if three or four guys that were sitting here that started with me at that time, they'll all tell you, all they want to do is drive a nitro funny car.
So you didn't do like bracket race, you just went right into fuel altered.
Yeah, you know, and as a matter of fact, I cannot tell you or list the amount of people that thought I was crazy. You know, everyone was like, oh, well, you know, he's too big, you know, he can't do that. And, you know, he's really never driven a race car, you know, quicker than 10 seconds in, you know, a quarter mile before. So, but the truth is, you know, looking back on that, you know, and I say this with all the humility, I did really well right up front. And I think it's because I had watched so many cars go down the track so many times. I'm mechanically minded, so I understand how the race cars work. So I did very well from the word go, you know. As a matter of fact, up until these last couple of years, I had never crossed the center line. I'd never been in the sand. So
well, that was pre funny car.
Yeah.
Now we all know, you know, funny cars are beasts, but
they are.
Let's talk about the first time you hit the throttle and it threw you back in the seat. Do you remember that? And did it immediately just reprogram your DNA?
Oh yeah, well, so, you know, to me, nitro funny car is the coolest car on the planet. You know, there's a lot of cool cars out there, but, you know, if you're a mechanically minded person and you stop and really look at a nitro funny car, you know, you could say they're the coolest car on this earth, you know, and then to have an opportunity to drive one and have the skill set to be able to do it is a blessing. So, you know, I feel honored to be able to even do what I'm doing. I'm blessed, you know, even when we're not doing so well, and when I'm on fire, when I'm wrecking or whatever I'm doing, I still have to remind myself that I'm doing something that millions of people want to do, and I'm blessed to be able to do it. So, and, you know, and for me, it's also, it's a challenge, you know. I want to be the best in the world at this, and I know I have a lot of years to go to be the best in the world, but I'm not going to quit anytime soon. So for me to be able to get an opportunity and get the laps and get everything I need is 100%, you know, what has to happen. You have to go through those wrecks, you have to go through those fires, you have to go through that stuff to be able to graduate on to be a world champion.
And part of the process was you started in Top Fuel. And owned your Top Fuel team. You still have the Top Fuel team. Made the transition to funny car. And I want to ask you, what's the one thing that you do in a Top Fuel car that you never want to do in a funny car?
Well, there's a few things. You know, nitro funny car is probably the most unpredictable vehicle on the planet as well. And I think that's what, you know, drives me to want to drive one, right? Because of the unpredictability. And, you know, there's a lot of differences between the cars, you know, and I would say this, you know, a Top Fuel dragster, the tuner tunes it like an animal and the driver finesses it. A nitro funny car, the tuner finesses the tune-up and the driver drives like an animal. So, you know, even though they're the same clutch and the same motor, that's the only thing that's similar. The drivability is completely different and the tunability is completely different. So, but you know, one thing about the funny car different than the dragster, as the driver specifically, the dragster, you just want to feed the wheel gradually, you know, in order to not upset the car. The funny car, man, you're just you're hamming on the wheel, man. You're jerking it every which direction to keep it in the groove, and that's another thing I love so much about them.
And when you're in the funny car, there's so much going on. I think a lot of people don't realize. Can you, on a run, you will see the in-car camera, you're just steering the heck out of it.
Yep.
But when you're doing it, do you even realize you're steering it, or are you just kind of looking out the windshield trying to keep it, in the middle of the track?
So it depends on the run. When they drop holes, you definitely remember steering it because you're feeding into it so much. But when it's a good clean run and all these cylinders are lit and you're just kind of feeding the wheel, you really kind of don't remember because it's just part of the process. However, like I said, when it drops holes, sometimes you get the wheel like this, and you can't help but to not remember it. And I think it's because you leave the wheel like that for so long. If you're driving one with a hole out, you'll keep feeding into it till it finds what I call the center point, which is going straight with that hole out, and you'll just kind of leave the wheel there. That's what you have to do to keep it straight.
You have had a unique funny car experience getting your, funny car start with a Lifetime Achievement Award, funny car legend, Jim Dunn Racing. What is it like to get that call from Big Jim Dunn and John Dunn and say, hey, we're interested in you in driving this funny car?
Yeah, blessing, honor, really, those guys have treated me like family. So it's all a blessing. And then to show up in Bakersfield, to cross my license over and to see what they had done, which is pretty cool. I got my license in the Fireman's Quickie Nitro Funny Car, so that was super cool. That's an iconic name of a car that Big Jim had for all those years. Right. And so to get my Nitro Funny Car license in the Fireman's Quickie there's not too many people who've done that. I'm just going to say that. So that was really cool. And, just the knowledge and experience that Jim has, out of everyone in our pit area, I spend the most time with Jim every weekend. He and I are in the trailer a lot. And so I get to hear so many stories, right? I get to hear, he doesn't say a lot.
Sure.
But when he does talk, he talks with meaningful authority. He wants to make sure that whatever his point is that he's getting across is getting across. And when he tells a story from the past, he tells it very well. And so I've been blessed to be able to, just sit in the trailer with sometimes hours with Jim and get to hear stories that I think that some people on this planet have never heard before.
What are some of the nuggets that he gave you early on, and kind of how have they evolved from season 1 to season 2?
Jim's first words to me, the first word that sticks in my head is, buddy, concentrate, right? He loves that word. That comes back from the Kenji era. Jim has told me many stories about how he felt that Kenji Okazaki had a special power, the ability to concentrate more than any other driver he's ever had. So Jim carried that on to, I believe, probably all of his drivers and said, hey, you need to concentrate.
And just block everything out.
Yeah. And so that took my mindset to another level as far as concentration goes. A fuel funny car, they're not easy to drive. They're constantly trying to find the center line or find the wall. They're not trying to stay in the middle. So concentration means that, you find the groove and you keep that car in the groove and, you do your job at the starting line. So, but the word concentrate sticks out to me.
When you won the first round of the U.S. Nationals last year, what was it like to, at arguably the most significant race of the year, you're racing for Big Jim Dunn and you just, punched out Bob Tasker III.
Yep.
What was it like just kind of being on the track, and then what was it like when you got back to the pits?
Yeah, big win for us, for the whole team. The first thing I thought of is I finally got us a win for the team, right? That's how my brain works. When I win, the team wins and vice versa. So I was super proud of our team. That was the first thing. And then, the second thing is I had my son's name on the side of the car, which was so cool. My son was just born a few days prior to that. So, that was cool. And, the history of the U.S. Nationals, knowing that, I am in the history books now as a round winner at the U.S. Nationals. Right. That's not the end goal. The end goal is to have a Wally from the U.S. Nationals, but to go in the history books, a round winner from the U.S. Nationals and Nitro Funny Car is a big deal. So, it was. I want to say it was a unique moment in my career, and I just want more of them.
Sure. As you're kind of working with Jim Dunn and John Dunn and the whole team, how has it been just getting more comfortable in the funny car?
So, the first 20 runs, I was really, I really had to pay attention. There was a lot going on
Concentrate.
there. Concentration, right? Now I'm probably 140, 150 runs in their car. I'm very comfortable. The car is set up just for me. All the controls are exactly where I want them, and that's perfect. And they've done an incredible job of working with me on that, and that's a blessing. Not every driver gets that from their crew chief and their car chief. That they just say, hey, this is where the stuff's at. You figure it out. So it's been really good, but I've learned so much from them. I'm still, I try to stay heavily involved with the car. I'm also a mechanic, right?
Sure. You just gravitate to the car. It's just like
I could never be a driver. I always joke around and say, if I hit the lottery for $1 billion, I'm still going to work on the race car.
Right.
I'm just that way. I love touching the race car and working on it. So I've been able to, get my hands dirty a little bit and stay on the race car, which I really enjoy. And it's been a real blessing.
2025 is the 75th anniversary of Jim Dunn Racing.
Yep.
75th anniversary of their sponsor, Moon Eyes.
Yep.
You've been able to drive the Moon Eyes funny car, one of the most iconic funny cars in all of motorsports. Yep. What is it like to be the guy that drives the Moon Eyes funny car?
It's so cool. First of all, when I was a kid, I was at the U.S. Nationals when Kinji won the Big Bud Shootout in the Moon Eyes funny car. I remember sitting there. I remember it so specifically. That was when McDonald's had pizzas. I don't know if y'all remember that, but McDonald's was a big sponsor. Larry Miner brought that into the sport, and they actually had their own kiosk all over IRP. That. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I remember it very specifically, and I remember sitting in the stands with a McDonald's pizza and watching Kinji win the Big Bud Shootout. So to be able to drive that car and represent that team on their 75th anniversary for both teams, the Moon Eyes team and the Jim Dunn team, has been incredible.
But let's talk about what it's been like for you to get to know some of your funny car compadres, as it were. Driver intros, when you're hanging around in the backstage, are you talking about racing? Are you trying to glean some information? Or are you just, shooting the breeze with these guys?
First of all, I'll say that, the Nitro Funny Car guys and gals, they've welcomed me with open arms. It's been really cool. Not one of them has ever, tried to make me feel a certain way. It's been the opposite. I think that they've enjoyed me as much in the class as I've enjoyed being in the class. And you never know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes we're back there, we're talking about, how our car has been performing recently. Sometimes we're talking about food. Sometimes we're talking about, bicycles. We all have these unique hobbies as well. So, often Cruz and I are back there talking about our next helmet paint job. Caps and I are going to be, talking about, the different bodies on the cars. We're just talking about performance of bodies. So there's all kinds of things we talk about. But, one thing that I think that all the fans need to know is that, NHRA drivers, they're real people. We are people that a lot of us have yet another job or own a business outside of what we do. And we're all very real people, and I think that's a uniqueness within our sport, unlike other types of motorsports at the professional level. So what you get with us is a bunch of real people that just want to burn nitro and wheel a funny car and fill our face full of clutch dust every weekend.
Did any funny car pranks, any guys try to have some fun with you when you were just kind of getting started?
Not at all. No, not at all. I've never, I heard stories about people playing games on the starting line. I've never had any of that. No, no one's ever picked on me.
Well, the fact that you're the size of a mountain probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, and I've always said that, people will treat you how you treat them.
Sure.
And I've always treated every driver with respect. I understand, I watch every driver's, staging procedures, and so I try to respect theirs, and they're clearly respecting mine. So I've not had one issue, not one.
You touched on this, your starting line procedure.
Yep.
Jim Dunn has a way he wants to do a burnout, back up, and it's it's his own unique way to do it. Can you talk about why that is, or kind of how that
so
came to be?
So Jim is very specific in how he wants his car treated up until it's wide open throttle. And, I've been the driver that's always agreed to that. I don't care whose car I'm driving. If you tell me to drive it this way, I'll drive it that way. And, first of all, when we start up our car, we let it idle for 15 to 20 seconds before we even move. And then our burnout's pretty short. Our burnout's anywhere from 12 to 15 feet long versus 18 to 24 feet long, like a lot of teams. We back up very quickly, body goes up very quickly, body goes down very quickly, and we're always ready to go. Part of it is Jim is a big person on respect. And so he believes that it's absolutely a sin for another team to be waiting on us. So he wants to be quick. He always wants to be first to pre-stage, if you will. So, and then, he, once again, it's a gentleman's sport in his mind. So, when I first started driving his car, he said, buddy, you're new in the funny car class, so you're going to be staging first almost every time. So just get used to that. And I just adhere to that. And that doesn't happen all the time anymore. It's probably 50-50 of me going in second. But I've always driven the car the way he wants it to be driven. I believe that's just pure respect, and he's the owner of the car. So
yeah. And has it been for you a learning deal? Do you think that makes you more comfortable in the car because that structure is there, so you're not kind of guessing or trying to figure things out? And how long did it take you to be able to do those short burnouts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, anytime something's new to you and you have very specific instructions, you're able to follow them, I believe you're a step ahead, right? Trying to do something new and also try to figure out what you're going to do within that new thing, that new race car, can be tricky. So from the word go, I had spent time in the shop with Jim and in the trailer with Jim before we even sat in the car to fire it up for the first time, talking about exactly how he wanted things done. And up to this point, I've always executed. There's not been a time where we got back and I've made mistakes in the car, but none at the starting line. We've never came back to the starting line and been like, well, why'd you do that? Right? We've never had that conversation. So, also part of it is, it's his tune-up, right? So he has a very specific way he tunes his race car, and if I don't do it that way, it actually throws his tune-up off.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
Back. We're talking funny cars with Buddy Hull. I'm the sit-in host, Elon Werner, and we're going to dive right into the Funny Car Fast 5 presented by Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, the free online fantasy game that you can join for any NHRA national event. And Buddy, let's just get right into it. Favorite funny car driver of all time?
Chuck Etchells. When I was a kid, he treated me very well.
Perfect. Favorite track for funny cars?
It's got to be IRP. I mean, just the vibe at IRP.
Perfect. Your favorite funny car of all time?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But Dale Puldey's War Eagle.
Really? What about that car?
Beautiful.
Just the whole look of it?
Just, it performed well, and it was a show car.
Perfect. Best funny car race you can remember?
Me in the seat?
We'll do you in the seat and then that you saw.
So, oh, Lord. Okay, so best funny car, me sitting in the seat for sure was my first round win against Bob Task at IRP. Very memorable for me. I'll never forget that. The best one I've ever seen, there's been so many of them. I really can't put a single one on that. That's how many there's been.
Not even one. Not even a Chuck Etchells run that jumps out to you?
I liked John Force's final round win when he won his last championship in 2013.
Yeah. Vegas.
I liked it.
Big court and a hole shot.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. His daughter was in the other lane, and he still said, I'm the champ. I know it's my daughter, but I'm going to get it done today. I'll never forget it.
Describe what it's like to drive your Jim Dunn Racing Nitro funny car in 15 seconds.
Those boys squirt the bottle, fire the car up, body comes down, burnout, back the thing up, pay attention to the tree, stab the gas, keep it in the middle, get the chutes out, turn off, and go talk to Amanda Busick.
Perfect. That's been the Funny Car Fast 5 with Buddy Hull, presented by Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode. We'll get back to the normal things with future episodes with Buddy sitting in this seat. You can definitely check out our show anytime on the NHRA FAST Channel. YouTube, all our social media. But Buddy, it's been an honor to produce this show. We got Telly's here, Warren Evans, our producer, you. Thanks all the NHRA fans that voted for us, and we really appreciate all the drivers that contributed to making the show last year. You know, before we wrap up this show, can you just talk about what the biggest joy for you has been doing Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull?
So the biggest thing for me is getting the drivers out there. You know, I've always believed that people don't root for the car, they root for the driver. And I think that when fans get to know more about the driver, they fall in love with the intricacies of that driver's life. And so to be able to, you know, get information out there to the whole world about who these drivers really are and what their passions are and what they do and how they got started has been a blessing. And outside of my passion for driving and doing what I do, that would also rank up there in one of my passions, as well as promoting the sport and other drivers.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun doing season 1, Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull. We're launching season 2, and you can catch the show on the NHRA FAST Channel every Wednesday night. Also on YouTube. Follow us on our social media channels. But as Buddy likes to say, the world wants to know, and that's what we're going to deliver with Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull this season.